2025 promised to be a big year astrologically, and it's not letting us down because the first quarter of 2025 was a doozy. I don't know if anyone noticed that. There are a lot of things changing, a lot of things, people's cages getting rattled. Would you like to know more about the year? How about what's coming up this spring and the second quarter of 2025?
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Hello, this is Angelscapes, and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. And joining me is Mary Dalba. She's been with us many, many times, and she's my favorite astrologer.
Oh, thank
I hope
you.
yours too. So we're gonna start going on what's going on, and then as we get a little bit on, I'll remind people where you are and how they can reach you, and all the
Oh, yeah,
things you got
thanks.
going on. You got some really cool things going on.
Thanks, Nance. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you again. Yeah, it's been a time. That's let me start there. It's been a time. So right now, let me tell you where we are right now. We have Venus retrograde. It is in the sign of Aries right now. So
Oh,
we know our Aries folks are very powerful, strong people. There are leaders.
oh,
There are
yeah,
folks that, and in Venus, it's about passions, but it could also bring us to a place where we're
button heads.
battling. Yes. I don't know if anybody's experienced that over the past month or so, but yeah, that's
Oh
been
yeah,
something. And with it being in retrograde, what it does is it goes over old ground in relationships. So you may be doing a little dance with somebody, trying to figure out, like, is this a person? I don't know. It could be friendships, it could be working relationships. So it's pulling out all that stuff and not necessarily in a calm way.
yeah. Aries has never been calm. It's very. I find it very aggressive.
Hmm.
I know
It can be.
when somebody is more heavily Aries in the whatever their chart is, if they have, I'm like intimidated right away. I don't know.
Well, our Aries folks or Aries placements, they're leaders. So they're folks that are known to be the leaders and the drivers of war. So if something comes up in front of them they don't like, forget it. And for my folks out there who have an Aries moon, I say bless you, because the Aries moons, you have the emotions and the Aries energy come
Oh
together. Yeah. So, imagine the kids, kids when they're young, they're jumping up and down, they're kind of, you could have a Aries moon child if that's the case, because they're just, the frustration. Um, we also have Mercury in retrograde right now.
I know.
That yeah, in Aries.
What does
So
it what does it mean? So Mercury retrograde and my computer or the phone doesn't work or I'm miscommunicating. But
right.
Aries, what kind of a
Well, so
feeling?
someone could be speaking their truth, saying what they need to say, finding courage to say what they need to say. On the other side, flipping of the coin, which I like to do, we have the things that we want to enhance and maybe the
Mhm.
things we don't want to enhance. But also in Aries, Mercury will make us shoot our mouth off. And in retrograde, it may be one of these things that comes out of left field that someone's frustrated with you and they haven't said anything for a while. And then, well, wham, they're going to hit you. So,
Mhm.
um, it can be one of those things where you're trying to solve problems, but it starts out in a way that you're like, how did we start here? Why did you just come and tell me? Why did I get this, like, I'm being kind of dramatic here, but like, why did I get this big post on Facebook about how people do blah blah blah? It's like, just come tell me. Um, so Mercury retrograde, let's talk about that for a second. Mercury retrograde is messing with your computers, your mechanics, folks that have cars, they may be finding they're having some issues with their car. Travel, if you're traveling right now, take extra time to get where you're going. If you're going to the airport, anything like that, you may find your flight has changed. Okay, so it affects all the travel, all the commerce. If you're ordering something right now, oh boy. You might have like someone who goes to deliver to the wrong house, or they gave you a date and then they show up on the next day. It's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or the package gets lost completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you also, right? And so you have that, you have the mechanics. These are things that I think, they affect our everyday lives, email, computers, our phones, our iPads. Usually during this time, we'll see a big outage. Like you can't log on to something, you can't, your passwords are getting messy.
Oh, okay.
hmm So here's the thing I would say to everybody to deal with Mercury in retrograde. One, since it's our communication planet, take a beat. Like before you say something, someone might come at you and if you take a beat and say, I'm still going to tell them, then you tell them, but at least you took a beat because sometimes you go to at somebody and y'all, I'm saying this for me. I do this too. I go to and then I'll say,
Taking the advice. Yeah.
let me step back for a second
Yeah.
because I might really upset somebody or say something I don't really want to, I wouldn't usually say. So, and if you're writing emails, same thing, like write the email and sit on it for 10 minutes if you have to.
Or
Um,
text
or
or
text, all
post
that.
something on social media or
Right.
getting in a
Yes.
chat room without paying attention to who's in the chat room.
Yeah. All that. Yeah. All those things. And they're little things that you don't think about until you get into it. Like, so you go, like you said, you go into a chat room and wait, who's in this chat room
Right.
or the other thing that can happen, these again are little things, but like um, you go to somewhere, you go, you think it's 8 o'clock. The event's at 8 o'clock. Well, the event started at 7. It's like little details like that.
Yeah. Those are crazy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you want to check all that stuff out. So you have Venus in retrograde, which is doing all the feels around relationships, what's happening there. You have Mercury in retrograde, that's all sitting there. Both of those in Aries, they are during March going to retrograde back into Pisces at one point.
Okay.
Now, so here's what retrograde means, by the way. Is it okay if I explain that real quick,
Oh,
Nance?
please. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when a planet we consider as an astrologer, a planet in retrograde, it means that the planet's not at full power. So in other words, I call it like the planet has a cold,
Okay.
or the planet doesn't want to work for those 3 weeks or however amount of time. They're not at their full strength, which is why we run into these mistakes. Which is also why we say during Venus retrograde, do not make a big change to your appearance unless you've already been planning it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. You've said
right.
several times over
Yeah.
the past couple of
I
years.
I mean it. Like you're gonna go get these bangs and it's just not gonna be good. So that's the big thing. Or you change your hair color, or you go out to get a new wardrobe and you're not feeling it after a month. I mean, it's these things that with our appearance and our money that we just again want to take some caution with because it may not turn out the way that we think it's going to turn out. So this new haircut that we got, it's like, ugh. I
Yeah.
can't do what I used to be able to do with my hair. I can't put it, whatever. So, that's the thing that I think to think about is if it's not at full power, we need to take an extra step and make sure that this is what we want to say or do or spend.
Okay. So how long
Okay.
is this going to go on for? I mean, we're
Yeah. I love you, Nancy. You're like, so just tell me when this is going to end because I can't take it. So good news in April. Not only does it bring, better weather, but we have April 7th, we
oh,
will be direct in Mercury. So Mercury will still be in Pisces
hmm
because it went back to Pisces and then it'll start moving forward again. So, real important, if you have meetings or contracts you need to sign, try to do them after April 7th or make sure you read everything really well. So again, I know folks that are looking for jobs. If you're doing that, make sure you have questions, read that job description over really well, make sure you show up for your interview early and if you want to make sure you don't have a wardrobe malfunction. So coffee, I was a tea drinker that I used to get it on my shirt. So wait until afterwards for the coffee or have it at home so at least you can change things like that. And then Venus goes direct also in Pisces on April 12th. So really these things that you want to do in regards to Mercury and Venus, you might want to try to wait until after April 12th to do them.
oh,
But life be life, and we're going to be doing what we need to do. So if you have to do something important during those times, just double check them because we got to live. And sometimes you can get, something comes back during Mercury retrograde. That's great. I'll give you just a real quick example. So some of you had heard I bought a Cadillac a couple of years ago, and I ended up totaling it. Not my fault, but I ended up totaling it a month later. It was very heartbreaking. But then I started to look for another car because I need a car,
it's awesome.
and
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. I have a Chrysler 300. It's and it's purple, so it really is just me. But I found that during Mercury retrograde because we had gone into Mercury retrograde, and I was like, oh, and I had actually looked at that car and didn't choose it the first time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was like phew, they went the Cadillac, and then in Mercury retrograde it came back. So sometimes things like that can happen too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the things that are coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of that, which I have also said over several years, when your ex shows up, because one of your exes is going to show up, guys, they're either going to try to add you on Snapchat, they're going to try to talk to you, you're going to bump into them somewhere. There is a reason why they are your ex.
Keep it that
Okay.
way. Yeah.
Keep it that way. Now, unless, so some people get a little nervous about this because they're like, well, what if my ex does come back and I've been wanting them to come back, right? I would say really have a very honest conversation about why this person's back in your life with yourself and with them, because it's not going to turn out the way you think. And again, I don't want to always downplay Mercury and Venus retrogrades as bad things, but you're going to pick up surprises. So like if you do decide to go back with an ex, I get it. You really want to make sure there's somebody different because sometimes you took the trash out while you're bringing it back in. I'm just being honest. So really be careful when your ex shows back up, or something like a job calls you and says, oh, we'd love to have you back, or we have a different role for you. You got to make sure these are all things you want to step backwards into. Is it
Yeah.
helping you at this time? Is it advancing your life at this time? Going, doing that little cha-cha backwards. Does that make sense? So just be smart about it. Take your emotions out of it and look at it like you're a third person. If I was telling my friends, if her ex came back into her life or his ex came back into his life, would I say, oh yeah, this definitely looks good. I know this relationship because I know you as my friend. Take yourself out of it if you got to. But sometimes exes are exes for reasons,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really good ones, right?
Really good ones. Yes, there was that no was there. It was so hard to say no then. And do we have to say the no again? That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, guys. I think it also helps us like look at how far we've come with these things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So, an ex shows back up, or a job shows back up, or something shows back up. Well, are we still the same person? And a lot of times we're not. So
We
if we
want
say
different
no
things.
again,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Yeah.
different, if it's in a different place.
Yeah.
So yeah. So just things to think about because we still have a few more weeks of these things. So yeah. I also wanted just to mention to everybody again, we got Pluto in Aquarius right now. And I think that's what we're seeing with all the global things that are coming out. Because if we think about Pluto, Pluto is the planet that goes down and digs deep into everything. It goes into the darkness. And by the darkness, I don't mean it's evil. I mean more of the things we don't want to look at, right? So we put them in a little dark corner in our minds and don't want to look at them. Well,
Yeah.
now it's popping out. So these things are popping out that we're taking looks at. But also think about it from a global perspective. We have, um, and I'm stating facts, guys. I don't care about politics in the sense of we're gonna go debate about politics back and forth. I don't care who you voted for in this case. What I'm saying though is that we have, I didn't know we were looking at Greenland again for a while until Trump got back into office. Doge came out during that time, so that was created. Things pop out. So it's if we look globally at what's happening, we're going to keep seeing things popping out and having us take a look at it. So, what I would say to everybody here is that what is important to you, what is in your heart, I think is really got to be looked at as where you stand on it during this time. Because if you see something that's an injustice or you see something that really like kind of makes you step back, this may be the time of activation. And I'm not saying if you're uncomfortable with certain things in that respect, if you're not a person that goes out and speaks to your Congress folks or, goes out and protests, that's fine. There's other ways to do it. But I
Right.
think right now we're going to get smacked in the face with, so where do you stand on this, friend, person, community,
Yeah.
school, work, whatever it is? Where do we stand? And so this is really important. And then I promise I'll shut up, Nancy, for a
Oh, no,
minute.
add to it. It's all right.
But what's really important is that everybody is going through this sorting through of feelings and trying to really get used to this new normal, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
So remember that when you're dealing with people, because there are people who are dealing with things in their hearts and their global place in this world too. So someone may feel real passionate about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
They can have that space. It doesn't mean you have to have the same space, but they can have that space. And I think the more that we do that, where we say, hey, you got your lane, I got mine, it's going to make life a lot easier for us. Yeah.
Probably, probably. I
Mhm.
think the lanes are overlapping a little bit.
Yep.
So that's been a little bit tricky for many people. And I noticed that some of the educational systems are being affected. Well, I don't know if Mercury's communication, if that's around education or something.
Yep.
I
It
see
can be.
some things happening there, and um, I think
Mercury's going to deal with the grant, like more of the lower grades.
the lower grades.
The
Okay.
lower grades, yeah, they're gonna. I mean, not that they wouldn't affect the colleges and things like that, but you're gonna see it more that the K through 12 is gonna get affected. Not the college kids are gonna get affected too,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's more because Mercury is more on the lower side of the chart, which means
Yeah.
it's more of the shorter term
Yeah.
studies. Mhm.
Yeah, the extra care help, the slower learners, the all the resources that go
Right.
into there, they're being challenged. And I also feel that
Yeah.
some of the colleges are standing up for, or what they've always thought that they meant, or this is what are now like, well,
Hmm.
you can't stand for that anymore. We're gonna
Right.
cut your funding, and all of that
It's
is.
crazy.
We talked about this before we came on. Is what did you think that you were signing up for? What did you think it was, and now it's
Hmm.
revealing itself in a new way.
Right.
It's speaking of the people that I am on this side or that side or wherever I am. I'm finding I'm understanding them a little more deeply because of the challenges that are coming on, and some of
Right.
the understanding, whether you say good, bad, or ugly, the understanding is like, oh, I didn't know that
Right.
was what it was,
Right.
or I didn't realize that that's where you stood, or I didn't realize that blah 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 blah. And
Right.
because I in my mind I always had a different picture. For instance,
Right.
on this particular issue or this particular
Mm.
group of people, and all of a sudden, it never was that way. I just kind of
Yeah.
thought it was.
Right, right. Well, it's interesting, like with family, I think we saw this in this second election. It's like all of a sudden it was like, oh, I didn't realize this person in my family or this friend felt this way about this issue. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, okay. And then you have to stop and make a decision. I love this person, but I don't love that they like this. So what do I do with that? And I
yeah,
think it's different for each person. I'm not saying, to cut someone out, like just do that. But I also think it's making us look deeper within ourselves.
mhm,
What are
mhm,
we willing to accept? What are we willing to listen to? And with it being an Aquarius, it's very much in the brain. So you're challenging people to get ideas. And if you do it right, a friend of mine said to me last night, it's like having that intellectual curiosity is going to help us bridge the gaps. It's when you don't listen to the other person. Um, if you're having a civilized conversation, I think we can learn a lot from people and how they feel about things. We don't have to change minds. I think just we have to be open to listen. If we change a mind, great, but also it doesn't have to be if we're going to have a good conversation to understand each
yeah,
other,
yeah, yeah. Well,
you know?
it's so much. The conversations I've heard or listened to, or accidentally got a part to be a part of, is that um that we're not agreeing on the facts. It's very confusing right now that we think something is a fact, and
Mhm.
it's not even. Or we
Right.
think that when somebody's trying to tell us something, we think they're pulling our legs, and they're not.
Right.
And this is, I don't know if where this fits into Aquarius or any of Pluto or any of it's like,
Yeah.
what is real? What's true? What,
Right.
where's the balancing point? Has been,
Right. Well, let me tell you where I think that sits. I mean, it can sit in Mercury because Mercury is, how we communicate. And if you think about it, we've changed some of the way we communicate. Like I think social media has kind of scaled back on their fact checkers, so I think that confuses us sometimes.
yeah.
And also just, how much are we retaining right now with the way the world is and how quickly bites of information come to us?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we read an article and it's like, well, wait, I know something, I know the general gist of it, but I didn't really take it in. And we're trying to catch a lot of information. So again, I think it's
Yeah.
you got to discern what is your interest and discern what you want to stay on top of and really kind of set a limit for that because you could just get pumped with information that after a while your head is spinning. So be real discerning about how you're taking in information, and is that a reliable place to take in information? Like when people tell me they get their news from a certain social media that they like, it's like, well, is that the only place you're getting information? That's sometimes, yes, that's good, but sometimes it's not, right?
Yeah.
So let me talk about, and it's happening this month. We have Neptune, the planet of there's some creativity there. They're the artists. Pisces energy that we're in right now with Neptune is very like watery and kind of going with the flow. And then when Neptune moves into Aries, it's going to start dissolving things that we think are really strong, because Neptune is a dissolver. There are times that it will say, "Oh yeah, you're enjoying that right now. Well, let me bring you into reality."
Thank you,
Oh,
Neptune.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neptune. So now it's in Aries. It's in a fire. It's coming into a fire sign at the end of the month on the 30th. And so we've had about, Neptune is a slow moving planet. I know I've talked about this. It's a generational planet.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to spend about 12, 14 years in Neptune in Aries. So,
Wow.
right. hmm So if you think back how we've had Neptune and Pisces over the past several years, I mean, there have been things all of a sudden we just see something dissolves. Something's gone. Like what we thought of that person is totally different now. It's just dissolved their reputation. Things like that. Some structures have dissolved.
Yep.
Um, so we're going now into Neptune and Aries, which is a wanting to be like a very psychic, a very ethereal planet. But Aries is coming in being like, what are we going to do, Neptune? How are we doing this? So you may find that the way things dissolve aren't very pleasant. So someone might say something to you that you're like, whoa, okay. Or something might shut down quickly. Have we been noticing that coming up? Or, what you're doing in your work as far as a creative work
Hmm.
is very powerful, because Aries is a powerful symbol. Now, again, if we're trying to get the upper hand on someone, which sometimes Aries likes to do, they could do it in a way that all of a sudden dissolves your idea. Like, so, someone tells you all along you're a great singer. Oh, you're an amazing singer. I'll say me. I'm an amazing singer. I'm an amazing singer. And then all of a sudden they want to hurt my feelings. So they're like, oh yeah, no, you're terrible. You're awful. I can't believe you go out there and actually try to do that. So we might get like all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, is that reality? Wait, I got to take a step back. Um, and then, kind of reassess what that means. But sometimes we may find, and I know Mercury is a communication planet, but Neptune comes in and dissolves. And one of the way people dissolve things is by saying something, that can go to the heart. Or we learn something really important ethereally. So I know, Nancy, I can speak to this for us as spiritual practitioners, right? But we'll like be sitting and working on something, like whether it's we're in meditation or whatever we're doing or working with a client. And sometimes we say something that comes out of our mouth and then bang, it's like, oh,
Well, that's
that's a real new way of thinking, that like, oh, like that's not just for them, it's
yeah.
so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah. So we may find some of that too, where we're getting information from spirit that's just so powerful and so strong. And we have to have the wherewithal to hold that energy.
Mhm.
So Aries is going to give us the courage to do that, but where it gets bad is if someone becomes too enthralled with their power.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. We have a few people out there right now that are very enthralled with their power.
Eh,
Um,
if couldn't
mm.
um it be dissolved? Do you think so?
it, well, this is what will happen. In my view, is that once Neptune really gets cranking in Aries, which is, like I said, going to happen March 30th, we're going to see things start coming out that um it's sort of like it takes the mask off and more people are going to be looking at it like, oh, wait, that's not what I thought that was. And then
Right.
if
Yeah.
again we do it right, they find the courage to speak up. So that's the Aries energy of it.
Okay.
So, my opinion, we have some folks out there who don't like what's going on, but they're not speaking up. This Neptune and Aries, all of a sudden, you're going to start hearing people speaking up, and then how, taking that together, then as a collective, we can
Okay.
dissolve it. So it's not, the thing I'll say, it's not going to be one person pulling someone down, or it's not going to be one person revealing
Mhm.
the truth. We're going to have a group revealing it,
Okay.
because one person will get it going, and then they'll follow behind the leader.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
fingers crossed, you know.
Fingers crossed. I had this
Yeah.
last year when December or wherever it was, I did open up the Akashic records of 2025, and that
Ooh.
was really fun. Well, fun
Yeah.
and interesting, but I had this sense of this seat of power changing. Um, and I felt a really strong feminine presence coming in. Partly
Mhm.
India coming in, but partly that there was going to be just somebody else is going to be sitting in the throne in a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
see that the Neptune or something could be shifting?
it could be. We've got Jupiter coming into Cancer, so a lot of people, and that's in June. So a lot of people are going to be looking for luck, but they're going to be looking for it in a way, or they're going to be looking for growth, but from an emotional perspective. So I think what you're seeing, part of what you're seeing, Nance, is, and I love where these match up, the astrology and the Akashic records match up. It's so
Yes.
cool. But that feminine energy, I think, is going to be that more compassionate energy. Cancer is a very feminine
Hmm.
sign. It's very emotional, intuition, and feminine doesn't mean female. Feminine, more of the, it falls into the
Right.
intuition side, the
Right.
caring, the
Right.
nurturing
Right.
side,
Right. Yeah.
right? So if that's happening, everybody's going to be really worried about their well-being. And so here's something else to look for. This is, I mean, it, the head figure might not be gone, but who's really running it behind the scenes might change.
Change. Okay. The influencers. Yeah.
The influencers, I think that's more of
Yeah.
what you're going to see is now listen, I mean, we could see someone go, but I think it's more of behind the scenes the behind
Yeah.
the scenes people.
Yeah. Have a
They're more
leg.
looking at how do we help people stay in their homes? How
Yeah.
do we help people get the
Right.
food, things like that. So it comes into service. So right now everybody's like talking, right? And because that's Jupiter and Gemini, but June 9th time frame, you're going to start people talking, but they're going to be saying things that we're like, oh, that's affecting them.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
it.
they're coming out with something, right? It's like they're
Yeah.
not hiding in silence anymore about
No, yeah. And
what's
they're
been
not,
going on in their lives.
yeah, I
Hmm.
just get this feeling that they'll be speaking, but I feel like when you say they'll be speaking instead of hiding, the speaking will be action or action
Yes.
will be behind the word or the word will
Hmm.
be, yeah. Not a,
Well,
not a opinion. Let's have it a coffee clutch opinion thing. This is going to be a different kind of speaking.
right, right. I mean, these are things that I think the words are going to be very impactful, and that's important because right now the Gemini Jupiter has been shooting their mouth off. But now this is like, how do we calm this? How do we soothe it?
Right.
So that's a lot of, I think what we're going to see is people saying, oh my goodness, my leader said this, whoever it is. And now I'm feeling like I can settle a little bit. So yeah, I'm not sure if we're actually going to see a female as the head of something per se, but I
Right.
think that behind the scenes is going to be, it takes a lot of people to run, a company or a government or, you know, uh
Well, anything. Yeah.
yes. So
And so there's been a movement towards
it
women getting
right.
you don't know nothing, kind of that we were going
That's what people
backwards.
say. Mhm.
And
Not anymore.
no,
Mm-mm.
no.
I think people are mobilizing, and this are the things that make them feel important, and they can also connect with the world. We have Uranus moving into Gemini. That's also going to influence communication. And Uranus again is explosive. So when people do speak out, I mean, you're really going to see people who you're going to be surprised that they have their voice behind the microphone or whatever it is. I mean, and even we may see um, singers and celebrities, but I know a lot of them like to talk, but I think this is more of like, oh no, I'm really committed to this because this happened. It's a different, you see people in different lights.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I think is important is we have Saturn, the planet of restrictions and boundaries. That's great because if you need to create a foundation, Saturn is great for that. But it also boxes you in sometimes. That is going to be moving into Aries. So Saturn again is going to try to force structures on people with the Aries, that it's my way or the highway. But I also see these structures are getting stronger. So the ones that we're doing in the world that are important can get stronger. Now, whether they're a good influence on the world is a different story. But we're going to see these. This is what I'm going to impose on you. This is the structure you're going to have. And it may work for a hot minute, but it's not it's not going to work. I mean, I really feel like we're going to see people out there like, okay, I feel so committed to this. I'm going to start, an
Mhm.
organization, a charity, a knowledge base, like all these things that people will really value for information and the way that we're playing out in the world. So all these plans are coming together to say, we can either fall on the side of the leader who doesn't care about us, and again, not saying the president, but leaders that we have, jobs, even our relationships, right? Or we can fall on the side of the people who have the courage to want to make change and
Yeah.
actually help make change, because that leader energy is in there. It's there. It's just, which side are we all going to fall on? And that's the decision we need to make.
And it's a
um
Gemini energy. It could be this or it could be this. Yeah.
Right. Well, the twins. So here, one
Yeah.
way, another way, one way or another way. But with it being in Aries, a real important thing, guys, when I talk about this stuff, because you're probably like, I don't know what my Uranus is and I don't know what Saturn's in. If you get your chart run, or you run your free chart online, you can see where the planets are in relation to when you were born. So I like to say, like, if a planet is transiting, it's moving, it comes to your house, knocks on the door and says, can I sit in here for a while? And affects that part of your life. So pull your chart and look at where these transits are. Because, for example, for me, my first house is being lit up because of that Aries energy. But I'm not sure where it is in your chart, Nancy. Off the top of my head, I should have known
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so wherever Aries sits in your chart, or what, you can see where these things are getting highlighted and activated.
Uh,
And it's how the planets affect our day to day. Now we get to do what we want with that day to day stuff, but it's how they're going to lean into us about, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And what's your
interesting.
reaction?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I just want to take a little quick break to remind
Yeah.
people Mary Dalba is at Mary Dalba on YouTube, Mary Dalba on Instagram, marydalba.com, Mary at marydalba.com. Right, it's Mary at
Right. That's my
marydalba.com.
email. Yep.
And she offers a number of really interesting offerings, programs. The Traveling Soul Sanctuary is also part of Mary's work, and
Nice.
the High Priestess Hype Club, is that still
That's still,
rocking and rolling?
we're podcasting out there. Yep. We're doing
Yep.
that.
And you got the then you have some really interesting reading offerings that
Yeah.
you know um, everyone who's gone to you for their astrology chart reading has come back with wow.
Oh, that's
So
great.
now I understand this, or oh, how did she know that, or things that you pull out to kind
Hmm.
of give people perspective on their lives has been very powerful. So I really recommend Mary's work to you guys.
Thank you.
And this
Yeah.
this High Priestess Hype Club subscription, is it a
Hmm.
subscription? Is it a podcast? Is it what is
Excellent
it?
question. So, the subscription is that you get a double reading. You get an astrology outlook personalized for your chart. So, like what I'm talking right now is general for the world, but you get a reading personalized for your chart of what's coming up for the next month. And then Julie Atkinson, my podcast partner, will go in and do a magical remedy, if you want to call it. So she'll say, maybe you can work with these herbs this month, or maybe you can make a tea, or maybe you can do some candle work. So she'll, based on what's going on in your chart, she will whip up something, a witch's brew, as we like to say. Now, it's not necessarily a product. It might be ideas for you to do over the month, but it gives you some guidance based on your chart, what you need to look for, what's going to be really excellent for you this month. So it might say like, oh, hey, this is a time to go look for a job. If you want a new job. Okay. And Julie will say, these are the things that you need to do. So it's super personalized. I'm record it for you. We don't have to book anything, but you can get it once a month directly to you, your recommendations,
Nice.
what's going on in your chart. Yep. And, just be armed with all the information to have a great month.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful,
Yeah.
and terrific. So
Yeah.
good luck
Yeah.
with that. And
So
so where do they go? Is it going to be through Mary Dalba, marydalba.com? Go through your website, marydalba.com, or I have
you
a
can You
okay.
you can, or you could go to hypeclub.live.
Yep. Okay.
That's where the High Priestess Hype Club website is, and you can pick your subscription right there. But feel free to email me at marydalba.com if you have questions. I'm always
Perfect.
I'm always willing to chat.
Wonderful. Well, so I hope
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
Mary out, guys. She's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Thank
so
you.
so let's go back to
Hmm.
um
Talk some more astrology.
yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that we're going to get this month. So, and again, guys, this April, we're in March. Oh Lord. March has been a month, which is why I'm
Right.
hoping for April sooner than later. We actually have a solar eclipse, new moon, coming up at the end of the month. Now, it's in Virgo. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong date. That's September, our Virgo friends out there. Let me get the right date for us. Hold on. There's so much going on. Yes, March 29th, solar eclipse in Aries. Okay. So it's a new beginning, right? Solar eclipses are new beginnings. The things that you can do during this time is to, again, being in Aries, the places that you want to speak your voice, be a leader, do something for yourself. A lot of physical activity is Aries influences that
Okay.
because it wants to move. If you want to start something new in regards to that, where you're going after your desires, so your desires for yourself, could be somebody in your life, but it's going to give you an extra oomph of courage. So those are the times that you do things where, you talk to people that you're maybe a little shy to talk to,
Hmm.
or inquire about something that you might be a little like, oh no, like, should I ask about that? But Aries is the planet of war. So, um, if there's someone that you need to have a difficult conversation with and you have to be kind of, steel yourself for it, that's not a bad time to do it either. Now, it could heighten the energy, and that means that it could make people a little quick to jump. Like I said, we got to be careful of that.
Hmm.
But you take a deep breath and you keep going. Know that you're going to come out to a new beginning by the end of that. And listen, guys, something has to end for us to have a new beginning. You can't have everything you've had in your life, your whole life, the
Hmm.
whole time. Like, things are going to shift in and out. So I don't want people to think like, oh, like series, it's an eclipse, it's going to make it more intense. No, it's just saying that it's going to happen quickly. There's no dragging things out. Eclipses, boom, it happens. Whereas with a regular new or full moon, you might it's
Like
not
you're,
going to be subtle. It's not going to be subtle. So, like I said, or you may have someone come to you and say, I really need to talk to you about something. I got to get this off my chest, or
yeah.
we got to go somewhere and do this. Like this. Some people may find that they finally like clean out something that they need to clean out. They take the
Okay.
action they need to take.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, no
Okay.
resting on our laurels, as the kids say. We're not doing that this month at all.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All
And
right.
not for the rest of the year either, really.
No, I think this
Not
year's,
really.
yeah, you're,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I like years like this because it gives us the challenge of seeing what we're really made of. Now, I'm saying this right now. Talk to me in June or July, and I'm going to be like, yeah. But
Yeah.
it gives us the chance to really push ourselves to our place that our comfort level ends and go into that place that's uncomfortable. So the planets are supporting you in this. So if there are things that you want to try or you want to do or you want to say, or it's like, it's at this point, it's not what do you have to lose, but it's like, why I can't stay uncomfortable anymore in this position.
So you're
And
forced, you're kind of, the discomfort is going to get you off of um,
right.
get you out of the couch or get you off of I can't decide this way or that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
You're gonna decide. And the thing is, guys, nothing changes if we don't do anything. Nothing changes if we don't experience these things that push us. And if we're spiritual beings, which we all are, we're all getting activated. We're all seeing things that we want to maybe look at in ourselves or within the world. And in order for us to really reach our purposes, we have to take up, our causes, our ideas, our lives, what we want for ourselves, what we want for our families, and we need to move forward. So that's the thing. If you're looking at this as a hard time, I understand why. But also, there's what is it? No pressure. You don't get a diamond if you have no pressure.
Right. So yeah,
So
that was, so that's driven home over and over last year
yeah.
and now this year.
Mhm.
Um,
It's true.
yeah,
It's
numerology,
true.
this is a kind of a 9 year. This is like a get it done,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
finish it up.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
yes,
go ahead. I was gonna say, I think that a lot of people are seeing endings coming. So especially with reveal, I didn't realize it was a 9 year, but like finish it up, finish it up, finish it
finish
up,
up.
get it. Or if you don't finish it up, it's gonna get finished up for you. And I gotta tell you, I don't like it when that happens. I
No,
do not like it when something gets
yeah,
pulled away from me or I have to do
exactly.
something that I'm like, I didn't want to do this. Like I didn't want to.
Yeah,
So, get it done, or it's going to get done for you.
for you. But that's, yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
Yeah.
And also, the other piece of that too is whatever
Yeah.
you're working on, if you're, you think, I'm going to get this done, but that's not the thing
Yeah.
that you're meant to be working on. So, what are you preparing for the next year? What are you
Mhm.
preparing for once this cycle comes to an end? You'll be like, oh, that's not, again, going back to that same, that's not the ending I wanted.
Right.
Where are you
Right.
putting your efforts now? I think is,
Right. Yeah. And we can't control everything, right? We can have the best laid plans and things could still do whatever they're going to do, or they may turn out even differently than we thought, but we're participating. It's not happening to us. We're part of this process of whatever's changing in our lives, and we have a say in it, which is really
I think
important.
that's where a difficult situations forces you to see that and exercise that muscle. And I need to think this through. I need to take action. What do I want to have happen? How am I going to influence this, or how I'm going to be in relationship to whatever the
Yeah.
issue is. But if
Yeah.
there's no relationship, like it will, if there's no relationship, you're not going to escape it.
No.
It's still going to
No,
be
you're not.
biting you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I think so this is why this is important to say, because with Pluto sort of as the overall like feeling of the world right now, where it's digging things up and digging things up and making us look at things. That's why we're saying this, because the theme is like we can't keep things hidden anymore.
Right.
So we have to do something to look at that and to free ourselves, because transformation is freeing. So change is freeing, as painful as it can be, but it can also be the thing we need to finally get our hearts as open as we want them
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, there's one other thing I wanted to mention,
Oh, yeah.
which some
Please.
folks may be noticing. So you may be hearing this thing about the lunar nodes shifting. You guys might have heard um, we're shifting from Aries and Libra to Pisces and Virgo. So let me explain real quick what
Yeah.
lunar nodes are and then what that means. So lunar nodes are basically one side is your what you're bringing in this lifetime to work on. One side is what you're bringing in that you've already had. Like it's a
Mhm.
place you kind of can get comfortable or you get a little lazy, but it's your skills and talents you brought in. You've done them a bunch of times, or you're coming in with stuff that you have to work on in this lifetime. Because that's the thing, guys. We always come in with reasons. No one is here with no purpose. Okay. So everybody's got a purpose. Everybody's got probably several at this point. So, yes, we did bring in things that we need to work on in this lifetime. So if you noticed over the past couple of years, we were doing a lot of work between how we were presenting ourselves to the world, getting to know ourselves, understanding things. We've seen shifts in how people refer to themselves, speak about things. And then on the Libra side, so that was the Aries side. The Libra side is how do we balance relationships?
Mhm. Mhm.
How do we care for our fellow person? How do we care for people in our lives? How are we acting in relationships? Things like that. So we've had a lot of reflection. Since January 11th, we've had the nodes go from Aries and Libra to Pisces and Virgo. Since they're two of them, they have to go opposing signs. So Pisces is opposite of Virgo. Okay, so stay with me so far, guys. All right, so what's happening right now is the Virgo is in the South node. And what that means is you're working on those things that um, from a perspective of the Virgo sign. So you may be working at things where you can be really critical to yourself or other people. You may like have your structures, but be really connected to when your structure gets thrown out of whack. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, what's happening? So it's that shadow side of those things where you're rigid, you don't have the flexibility, it could be a little bit of your way or the highway. And it's not to say anything about Virgos is bad. It's not. It's just more of we look at the shadow side of those signs. Every
Mhm.
sign's got it. Sagittarius is, as me and Nancy are, and I've said before, I mean, we can be scattered, we can be, really too blunt. Like we have both sides. Okay. We can also be a lot of fun and adventurous too, but you know what I mean? So it's not to say that Virgo, it's like, oh, the Virgos, it's more of just saying, what do we need to change as far as our flexibility and our systems and our comfort? And also, oh, the other thing it looks at is where do we need to improve our health? Like, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, all that helps. So that's a big focus into 2026. With Pisces being in our North node. So what we brought in to kind of learn in this lifetime to fill up in our lifetime, it's the creativity, the
Okay.
the ethereal, the spiritual. And I think what I see in this is that we're going to be realize that we're more connected than we think we are from a soul to
Oh,
soul standpoint.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So really the next year and a half is going to be looking at how art touches us, which is kind of ironic that Trump is doing the he's becoming the chair of, or he's trying to, it's the arts. He's doing something. I can't, it's escaping me right now, but I'm not surprised that it's like, well, Pisces, that can be the arts, that can be
Mhm.
poetry and all
Yeah.
of that. So it's asking us to touch the things we can't necessarily see. So for some of us, that's like, well, yeah, I got, the spirit came sitting in my bedroom today. We're already kind of there. But for a lot of other people,
Yeah.
um, it's getting in touch with that side, those things you can't necessarily touch,
Touch.
but that
Yeah.
touch you. So music, books, art, the
Inspiration.
spiritual.
Yeah.
Be very, very careful with trying out things that might be a little too lifting. So in other words, like folks, if you've got mushrooms or you've got things that are hallucinogenics or anything, be real careful with those because you could fly too high.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So you want to make sure that because you want to be able to handle the reality and the spiritual. So
yeah.
be careful with that kind of stuff. You're going to see people experimenting with that stuff, I think, a little bit. You do what you do in your home and follow the laws. But I'm just saying, you want to be careful with doing things to try to escape. That's not our
Well,
purpose.
Pisces. Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or we want to do things that we escape in healthy ways. So you may be asked to do something to escape, like to kind of feel better, but it's like, well, nah, I'd rather go, hang out with a group of friends somewhere than
Mm.
to, blast off. Right. So that's the thing that we're going to be balancing is these structures, these very, what we feel could be inflexible, but then also we can't get too flexible without any, we need both. We need some kind of, space to be sacred in. And if,
Right.
you let Pisces go too far, it's too watery. You can't nail it down. But you need that. You need the Virgo strength of that, of the structure and the systems, and the Pisces saying, well, let's look at that structure. How does that work for me?
Right.
So that's a lot of what we're all going to be looking at is, and I know from a health standpoint, I mean, that's definitely been something nothing's wrong, but like, do I want to get on a better sleep schedule? Do I want to, eat a little bit better? Maybe I give up some caffeine because these are part of my life all the time. Things like that. So that's some of the focuses you're going to have. And you're going to see people getting more into their spirituality, which I love. I love.
Oh, I do too. I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're
so
here
those
for
are
that,
things to
guys.
look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
totally here for it.
Yeah.
Again, like I like to say, we are giving these gifts to come into this lifetime with, and we choose how to use them. But I think it doesn't matter how old you are, we're still exploring those things. As long as we have breath in our lungs, we can still explore different things. You're never too old. And I think just experience enjoy the experimental um energy of what's happening around us because it can help us really see things in a different light, which is really cool.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was just a lot. It was just a lot, Mary. A lot of
I know,
information.
I know, I know. I'm sorry, because I get so excited talking about it. But if you
No,
guys,
it's great. No, I mean this is all good. This is all very, very
yeah,
good. It's just
yeah,
we're still moving in this in the in a powerful direction, and
yeah,
the planets are kind of saying yes, we are moving in a powerful direction. When you
hmm,
speak up or express yourself, um, don't have to stay in the closet. I remember I had a
right,
dream years and years ago about being inside of a closet and people are saying you have to get out of the closet, and
yeah,
that was a huge, huge moment for me. And I think
yeah,
that we're going to have those moments where we do have to stand up for what is our truth
right,
and
right.
and say what it is.
And there's room for all of us in that. I think wherever people
Yeah,
are standing, there's room for all of that. And we all have our separate sides of how we think about things. But if you're helping your side and you're helping people go out into the world and with that, it's going to affect all of us. So yeah, we can't change that person's mind. They think whatever. But if you have, something you're really passionate about and you speak to other people and they absorb it in, that's how
yeah,
things change.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So
And the change is what's being called for right now. Is what I
yeah,
I see. The change, the discomfort is the call to change.
Right.
and the change isn't willy-nilly, it's up leveling.
It really, what a great way to say that, Nancy. Seriously, it really is a great way. We're up leveling, and everybody here can do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we can all do it. It's just we have to take the steps. And I always say this, sometimes you worry, like, is that person, gosh, should we have hope for that person for whatever they're going through? If someone's really struggling, it's like, well, listen, everybody's got hope. It's just some people have to travel a little further to hit that space. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we can help folks along. And, you never know what kind of impact you can make on folks. And the universe is putting us in each other's space so that we can have an influence. So,
Yeah.
how do you want to do that? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
it's our choice. It's your individual
Mhm.
choice as you
It
become more and
is.
more aware of yourself and where you're sitting, and I don't really like these shoes, or I don't really like what I'm hearing,
Right.
or
Right. I need to do something. Like, I
you
need to
it,
do something. Yeah.
you set it for them if she says that to me again, I'm gonna blah blah blah. And
Right.
then she says it again, and you now have to blah blah blah. Because
Right.
I think that that's what this
Well,
year is about in
it's
some
true.
ways.
Oh, can I say one last thing for folks
Yeah.
before we sign off?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes these things that we're learning that we don't usually do or that we're afraid to do or whatever, if you put in the perspective of you're learning a new skill. So, like, am I used to standing up to a boss? No, but if I practice it, I have a friend listen to what I'm going to say about it. If I kind of get some thoughts in my head, it's a skill. You might not come out in that first conversation feeling great because you're like, oh, I really
Right.
kind of struggled there. But that's the only way you're going to know how to adjust. So
Yeah.
you got to try. And again, there's
Yeah.
skills. So just keep thinking like, I'm building my skill. I
Yeah.
didn't fail. I'm building my skill.
Yeah, it's no fail. It's no fail. It's
It's
kind
not
of a
fail.
no fail zone in a way. It's just
Right.
it,
Yeah.
it- but it's also not a oh doesn't matter way either.
No, no, things are definitely mattering much more than they ever have.
They
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. So,
Yeah.
well, gosh, I don't want this to end. I want to keep
I know.
going.
I know. I know. I'm like, this time just flew, Nancy. It just
Absolutely
flew.
did. I was checking out the clock to make sure I got
Yeah.
your 2 cents in about who you are and where to
Thank
find
you.
you. And I
Oh,
realized, oh my gosh, we've been talking for that long.
yeah.
But Um, so again, reach out to Mary at Mary Dalba, um, Mary at marydalba.com.
Yep.
Website is marydalba.com. And
Yeah.
then any kind of social media, you can find her there. She has a lot of resources to offer you. I
Yeah.
love the posts lately on Instagram, so you can listen to them.
Thanks.
And but we we bring people to you
Mhm.
so that you can experiment, you can learn, and you can grow, and you can have new perspectives. And this
Absolutely.
helps you to connect to your soul. It helps you connect to your spirit. Remember that you're a spiritual being in a human body, and the human experience is what we're here for, but we're spirit, we're eternal. And so play with that,
Yeah. I
and
love it.
dive into it and enjoy it. And the people that come onto these podcasts are designed to help you do that. So for now, thank you, Mary, for coming on. I appreciate that so much. And guys, be truthful to yourself, speak up, say what's on your mind, be curious, and in all of that, stay safe and honor yourself, care for yourself. And
Yeah.
we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.